Okay, we are back. Well, it's only me here, but we are live and we are back. It's been a while, and I am sorry about that because I know a lot of you guys you tune in to these live streams, and yeah, I'll try to do these live streams more frequently in the future. Let's see here if everything is working. Yes, the chat seems to be working, and we have people joining rapidly. Yeah, this time I won't mention any names. I'll just say hello to all of you, because if I it the chat moves quickly now, so that So, what's the expression? Well, I can't remember, but if I mention some of you guys, then I will. Yeah, I can't explain this too early, but I'll just say hello to everyone. I'll just give it a few seconds before we start the discussion about this closing of the bank accounts, and we have seen two cases of that recently. So we'll get into that. But before I do that, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, before we do that, please keep in mind that I do not tolerate any trolls and haters and people being disrespectful to the other people in the chat. What seems to help to avoid that is to have the settings so that only subscribers can join the chat. So if you want to join the chat, you have to subscribe to the channel. Yes. Okay. Let's dive into it. It seems like no. Okay. Let's start with Nigel. Nigel Farage. Farage is a politician in the UK. He was one of the driving forces, I would say, for Brexit, and he is considered quite controversial, and he is he's on the right, if you will, in the political landscape. I guess you could say a conservative, and he is now claiming that his bank accounts have been closed. And according to the news that I have read, he is claiming that it's being done out of political reasons. Because, of course, if they close his bank accounts, then he will not have access to any money. And he will then, everything becomes quite difficult then, right? So he is saying that he might have to move out of the UK. So he's being pushed out of the UK. That's the claim. And I have not been able to look into this in more detail. I have not been able to fact check if his claim is correct, but I have no reason to doubt it, because it would be easy to check for any journalist out there if what he's saying is true. So I will, for the rest of this discussion, I'll just say I think what he's saying is true. I think his bank accounts are being closed, and yeah, if I'm wrong, then I will. Someone will probably tell me in the near future, or in this during this live stream. Now we have seen this before. When you had the truckers in Canada protesting during COVID and during lockdowns and so on, they were being in Canada. They have this. Maybe there are people from Canada here. This fine little man. and I'm using the word man in its widest, broadest sense here, your Trudeau, and his little gang, and they made sure that they closed the bank accounts to these quote unquote extremists protesting. And this is something that should wake people up, because it's quite obvious that the people protesting there were quite ordinary people, as far as I know. They were not extremists. They were not, I would say their claims, their demands were, they were protesting against an inhuman governmental policy. And the government in Canada didn't like that, so they just closed their bank accounts. This is a problem for obvious reasons. This is a huge threat to democracy. Now I won't get into discussion about the definition of a democracy, but in most countries today, you have a democratic process. Yes, also in the USA, you have or you should have a democratic process, so that the people, at least on paper, decides who gets to rule. You don't have a king, right? You don't have an emperor. So that's the idea, you know. And if you close people's bank accounts, if the government gets to close people's bank accounts when they say or do something that they disagree with, but still perfectly legal, then we have a problem. And yes, that's what we are seeing now, and it's a huge problem. I probably do not agree with everything that Nigel Farage says. I haven't looked into that in detail, but that goes for most people, right? Most politicians. And if we start doing things like that, we do not have a democracy anymore. So this is something that should wake people up. Okay, I will now have a look at the chat, and I'll let's see. Not so many people in the chat right now. It's been a while since I did the live stream, so that's understandable. Okay. Yeah, my view on this. Cutman 3900 says, "Come to America, we will help you fight. We still have guns." I don't think it will make a difference. I know it's an unpopular thing to say, but if you look at this now, if you look at the markers for freedom, if you will, America is not a very free country compared to other Western countries. It really isn't. We saw that during COVID. So, I mean, you have a much more totalitarian government, for instance. So it doesn't really, I know people really hate me because they love their guns. Really hate me for saying this, but it doesn't seem to be correct. And I guess that could be discussed in detail, but it doesn't seem to make sense to me, that claim. So let's move on. Yes, situation in France. Yes, Edward is asking, are there people from France here? And is there a social media blackout? I would like to know. So, yeah, that's an interesting question. Should we keep money in the bank? Well, the short answer is you have to, because, well, you can try to go a month without having any money on your bank account. I don't think you can do it because there are bills to pay and so on. Maybe it's possible, but it would be very difficult. Um, so I would say, well, I don't keep a lot of cash, um, but also I have invested most of my money. Uh, but it is a problem, of course. It is a problem, um, and I'm monitoring this closely. So let's see. Get gold and silver is a suggestion here. Well, okay, I will comment on that from the perspective of someone who has actually studied finance, which I have. Um, you should only get gold and silver if you understand that if you understand how to invest in gold and silver. Do not get gold and silver in the belief that you're going to use that as currency. And it's it's my second unpopular um, opinion here today. But I don't see that being used as currency anytime soon. I just don't see that happening. But if you understand that market, if you know how to invest in gold and silver, it has historically been one of the, not the best, but it's been an okay way to invest money. Actually, as far as I know. Um, but I don't think we're there yet, where it will be used as currency. I don't think gold will ever be used as currency. It's just too precious. Silver, yeah, yes, um, and yeah, it's up to you. You know, it's up to you. I believe that the trading of skills and um, trading of goods and services is will happen much will happen before we start trading using silver as currency. Mm. Yeah, if we go back to the year 1066, what happened was that after that was that talking the England now, okay, um, William the Conqueror just took everything and he said, "Well, everything I see here now belongs to me and my friends." So, historically speaking, we have had situations where, well, when the revolution, the communists, when the communists took over in Russia, you know, somewhat similar. They just took everything. So that could happen. Now, myself, I feel I understand property quite well, so I have invested in property, and that's been, that's been, I'm very happy with how I have invested my money. Um, but I guess that could be taken away as well. Crypto, very easy to stop. Just make it illegal, and the crypto fans will hate me for this as well. Oh, there we are back to being unpopular. We are back to that. So, but I mean, it's a little bit naive to think that crypto can't be stopped. It can be stopped. It can be made just very, very illegal. Um, Gold and silver, well, the government can just make a rule that says that it's illegal to keep more than, let's say, 10,000 kroner or $1,000 in gold value or in gold and silver. And then you would have to hide it, and then you would be in a lot of trouble. So nothing is completely secure when it comes to currency. And of course, your bank accounts can be closed. However, I don't see that happening anytime soon to people who are not directly involved in protests and so on. But we are very, very close to a totalitarian, dystopian kind of society, I would say. Let's see here. Oh, this is a funny one. Islam is the truth. Say no to paper money and interest. Hold on. Yeah, you're gone. So we are not tolerating anything like that here, you know. So let's see here. Yeah, that's a good point. All seeing Otto says, all you have in this life is your mind and body. Everything else can be taken from you. Yes. So from if we're talking prepping here, the most important thing, the most important prep, if you will, is your physiology and your mind. So your diet. Are you working out? You should. Go for hikes with a backpack on and lift weights and eat proper healthy food. Read books. Challenge yourself mentally. Challenge your beliefs and get really good at asking questions. Be an intellectual and yeah, because that can't be taken away from you. Well, of course, if we use the Soviet Union again, they killed people, of course, millions, and so your life can be taken away from you. This got very dark. Yeah. Jason M. Smith says people should only carry a balance of what they need in the banks. Stock up on the items you need. It's not getting any cheaper. That's a very good point. And I've myself and many others have said that if there is something you know that you're going to need, you should buy it now, or should have bought it some time ago, actually, because it's not going to get cheaper. And also, I would say that don't clutter your home. I'm a big fan of decluttering. I'm not a minimalist, but I think that having too much stuff just makes you stressed, and that's not good, So, but yeah. Let's see here. Let's move on. Monique is asking, don't you think morals before intellectual improvement or hand in hand? Well, that's an interesting question. I don't have the answer to that. And Anonymous says, read a book that is opposite to your norm. Go outside in the sun to read. Well, reading stuff that you would normally not read is often a good idea. And Jamin Jake says anything can be made illegal. Yes. Yeah, Elizabeth Wilson here says something that is extremely important. Our rents are increasing, and currently I am decluttering in case I have to move. Yeah. Being mobile is going to be very important, I believe. And you can't have too much stuff. Liz Potter just writes here, the Bible. Well, I would say the Bible is one of the books you should have in your library. I'm not a Christian, but it's an important book, you know. Luca says, I finally caught you live. Yeah, it's been a while since I did a live stream, but I'll try to do them more frequently in the future. Bob is here. Good to see you. Good to see you. Oh, you have a doctor's appointment. Well, good luck with that. I know, and I'm sure we will see you in the next live stream, maybe. And let's see here, because Bob is in most of the live streams and a supporter of this channel. Let's see. Yeah, Exotic Water says, just joined. Hello from Australia. It's funny, I'm actually in the process of decluttering as I realize the impact of clutter on my mental health. Less is more. Yes, absolutely. Yes, C. Safar says, so is the glorious Quran. I don't think the Quran is glorious. Compared to the Bible, the Quran is much less interesting to read, I would say. The Bible is, I'm speaking here as a novelist. The Quran is not interesting, literary speaking. The Bible is somewhat, but yeah, let's see here. Let's move on. Wow. Anonymous says Anonymous. It's a bit early. I get it now. Says my rent went up 30%, so I agree. Are we being collectively herded by income? Nunya Lar says the Bible is the truth. We have a little rule here. It's just not okay. So what seems to happen, and this is a reason why I previously stopped doing live streams. I got so many people, the Bible people, the Jesus people here. You need to be respectful here, okay? And if you can't be respectful and leave the Jesus talk out of this, then this is not the channel for you. Christians are, and Muslims and Jews and whatever you believe in, it's fine, but don't use the chat to do the Jesus talk. It's just makes you look a little bit stupid, okay? So don't do that. Don't go there. You're going to get kicked out. Nobody's pushing religion on anyone, Bjorn. Well, did you not see that? You didn't see it, did you? Okay. I'll just give it a few seconds and see how it goes, because I'm 50 now and I don't have time for that shit. Excuse my language, But it's if I can't enjoy this, then you know, I'm not going to do it. Recovering Know It All says, I'm a Christian, but I accept all people and respect all faith traditions. Wonderful. That's how it should be. Okay. Are we okay now? Are we okay now? Yeah, I think we are. Most people are sensible, and yeah, again, if they start closing bank accounts, when, and this is a big question, when will people stop having money in the bank? That's one question. Because at some point, when the risk of having your bank account closed is too high, people will just take the money out of the bank and find other solutions. And the other question, I guess, is what will those other solutions be? Are we going to see an alternative system? Are we going to see, and I don't know, but are we going to see an alternative system? And if we get to see an alternative system, how long will it take before the government makes an effort to close that alternative system? Because I think that they will not be very tolerant towards that. So, what do you think? Um, yeah, PayPal actually, yes. GG Law 42 is talking about PayPal. They froze your account. Yeah, they have done that. Yeah, it's yeah, I know. Should have mentioned that. Eva Barbara says, I'm living in Africa. We use cash. We don't trust in banks. Yeah. Black market's always a target for dystopian governments. Yeah, well, Uncle Crust is asking, how are Norwegian people doing it? Well, concerning cash and so on. I don't see people using cash at all in Norway. It's like you can, but it's I don't think people do that anymore. So, yeah. So okay. Okay. Yeah, someone from Russia here. What is your thoughts of the anti-white hatred in the West and who is behind it? Well, that's a different topic. We certainly see it, and I will say that I hate racism. I really do. It's just so stupid, and I'm also able to recognize that racism goes both or always everywhere. It's not everywhere, but it's like, yes, there is among certain people certainly anti-white racism. Not so much here in Norway, I think, but I've been subject to racism, and I'm not allowed to say that, am I? But I have, from people with a cultural background from the Middle East. Let's just put it that way. And it was cruel and violent. And one of the reasons why I haven't talked about this much, but this is this was the main reason why we moved out of the city, because I did not want my kids to experience that. And it is a big problem. It's a big problem. We have people coming from some of the most racist countries in the world, uh, coming to our countries here in Europe and North America. We are these countries here, like us in the West, we are the least um, racist people on the planet, while we have people coming from the most racist countries on the planet here. So, you know, yeah. Um, let's see here. Well, enjoy your day, Edward, and thank you for your comments. Um, let's see. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Luca, but yeah, maybe that's something that you should talk about, moving out to the cities, because that's another thing. This is actually quite an important topic. Here's what I think. I think that if you live in a city, um, you'll have to use cashless a cashless way of transaction. Okay, you'll have to have money in your bank account, and you have to pay. You can't use cash. In the future that's coming. And I'm talking about the cities. And I think these alternative systems, like for instance barter, will it's something that you will see out in the countryside much more than in other places. Um, Scarcity, of course, will also be a bigger problem in the cities. There are so many reasons why you should move out of the cities. I can't even begin to. It's just, yeah, I get it. Some people have to work in the city and so on. I get it, but it is the worst place to be. The same goes for populated areas like the UK. The UK is not a good place to be if there's a crisis, like a big crisis, because it you can vanish in the UK. It's possible, but it's much more difficult than, for instance, here in Norway. I could walk out the door and I could be gone in the woods for weeks, months. I could walk into Russia without anyone knowing. Um, and during the lockdown, I did something that was quite fun. I walked to the border and I walked across the border um, and back. Or did I? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Yeah, out in the woods there, you know. Yeah, but okay. Yeah, here's the thing. Slim says the countryside will be full of people and become the city. Yeah, and I get that every time. Every time I say move out to the city, yes, okay, I get it. But here's the thing: I don't think that's going to happen. I think that it just takes too much for most people. It just takes too much. So I'm not so worried about that. So I will continue to say move out to the city. And hopefully some people will do that. But most people, they will just stay in the city. Change takes courage and effort. And most people, they don't like that. um, Okay. I'm just going to scroll down here. Yeah. I can't read your name, my friend there from Russia, but you are saying that it's important that Russia and Europe doesn't have a nuclear exchange. Well, yeah, I think that's a, yeah. What has happened is a big shame. The whole thing. Um, yeah, and isn't it funny that if you like I have several times, if you say that we need peace, that's what we need, and it's then I'm viewed as an extremist for saying that. Um, let's see. Yeah, the vast majority of people do not want war, and I think actually that the opinion among people have shifted more and more towards, or if you're talking about Ukraine, more and more towards that we are not in support of keeping that conflict hot. I'll just use that word. You know what I mean. Um, because, and I think I can say this, it is obvious that there are interests involved, big corporations making a lot of money on this. For instance, I'll just give you one example. It was in the news, like, oh, it's so great now. We're giving the Ukrainian soldiers night vision. What's it called? Night scope, night vision. Um, I've actually had people, a company, reaching out to me, and they wanted me to make a video about that. You know, they would send me something night vision thing for free. But I don't do that. But I did get to see the price. It's not cheap, and can you imagine the profit being made when we as taxpayers we have to pay for that, and they can just produce thousands of those, and yeah. But anyway, um, so goggles. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to end this live stream now, and the simple reason is that I'm looking after my mother's old dog, and he has to go out now in the garden. Um, yeah, we'll get back to things happening in the world. Just remember, I'm not an expert, neither are you. We just need to ask the right questions and keep our eyes open, and be humble, and be curious. So, okay. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being part of this community. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Bye.